Michelle Lamont with ThousandTravelTips.com, here with the wonderful Chris Mcginnis to learn how to check into a hotel like a rock star. Thank you so much for stopping by, Chris.
Sure thing.
So before we get to the tips,
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about what really started your love of travel?
Sure. Well, I got my start in the travel industry as a business traveler. I was a frequent business traveler and management consultant, worked for a big company, flew all around the world on a weekly basis, and became sort of the frequent flyer guru in my company. This was back in the 1990s when all this was just starting out. And a lot of people at my company quit because it was too much travel. So I came up with this idea to come up with a training program to train people how to be better business travelers. And that's kind of how my company started. My company is called Travel Skills Group. So when I left that consulting company, I formed Travel Skills Group, and I took that show on the road where I would go to a corporation and train their new recruits how to be better business travelers. Because a lot of kids coming right out of college, they say that they've traveled before, and you're like, where have you gone? And they're like, well, I've been to Cancun for spring break. But they don't know about getting an upgrade or the safest rooms in a hotel or how to take advantage of frequent flyer programs. So I put all that into a package where they learn that in a classroom instead of kind of learning it the hard way like I did.
So you took all the bumps and bruises and then everybody gets to enjoy the ride.
Exactly. And what happened actually after that is I got a lot of media attention around that. No one else was doing it at the time, and I ended up convincing the Atlanta paper to let me write a business travel column for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And that all of a sudden kind of put me on this pedestal as a travel writer.
So you instantly became your own publicist.
That's exactly. Luckily in Atlanta, CNN was based there. People were there were reading my column, and I ended up as a travel analyst and a travel correspondent for CNN and CNN Headline News. So that kind of made me into a travel media guy and not so much a trainer anymore. So that's how I got my start.
I love the CNN newsroom there in Atlanta. I went up there a couple of years ago. It's huge. That's crazy.
Did they let you sit behind the desk and do the news? Okay.
I did because one of my friends works there.
Okay.
So I feel like everyone's like me. They want the best opportunities when they go to a hotel.
Yep.
Some of us are a little bit more diva than the others. You like to call it rock star, which I love.
Okay.
So I know that you have some great tips. Tell me what your top 3, 4, 5 rock star tips are to check into a hotel the correct way.
All right. Well, the most important thing you can do is to get the person behind the desk involved in the decision about where your room's going to be. If you let the hotel property management system pick out your room, a computer is going to pick your room out and not a human being. So you need to ask specific questions. For example, if you want to sleep in and you don't want morning sun, you need to ask for a room on the west side of the hotel. Some people want to be close to the elevators because they feel safer there. Some people want to be away from the elevators because they don't like noise. Some people like a view. As long as you ask specific questions about the room, that person behind the desk is going to get involved. And that person behind the desk knows what the good rooms are and what the dog rooms are. And if they're involved in that decision, you're not going to get a dog room.
So be extra nice when you check in.
That's right.
Offer them free M&Ms, green M&Ms. If hey, I know you're a rock star check-in, so here's going to be some M&Ms. So what's your next tip for checking in like a rock star?
Well, I think it's important to know if the hotel is under renovation or not. And this is important for 2 reasons. One, I think a lot of people don't realize that hotels they don't like close down, renovate, and then reopen. They renovate floor by floor. So if you're checking in a hotel, it could be half renovated and half not renovated. And if you don't ask for a renovated room, you're going to get an old room. So ask for a renovated room, and you're going to get a newer room, a cleaner room, a room that probably has faster Wi-Fi because that part of the hotel has been renovated. Now, a corollary to that is you need to know where the renovation is taking place. So ask, if you know the hotel's under renovation and you got that room in the renovated part, how close is the work going to be to my room? Because at 8 o'clock in the morning, those jackhammers are going to start going, and you want to make sure that you're not anywhere near the renovation.
Now you mentioned Wi-Fi, and you're a business travel expert.
Yes.
Is there any secret to getting great Wi-Fi at a hotel? Because sometimes I feel like I get great Wi-Fi and then I get terrible Wi-Fi, or is that just me going crazy?
Well, the best kind of Wi-Fi is free Wi-Fi, and you don't always get that. But if you want to get good Wi-Fi, you need to ask for this when you check in, because Wi-Fi is not dispersed evenly throughout a hotel. A hotel is a huge building, and there are routers all over the building to make the Wi-Fi work. Some rooms are closer to that router than others. So by asking if the room has a good Wi-Fi connection, the person behind the counter who has taken a lot of complaints about a weak Wi-Fi signal knows that if you're near the elevators, you're going to get a better Wi-Fi signal. So it's important to ask if that's important to you, to ask if the room has good Wi-Fi.
Now, other than the elevator, is there any other room insider secret that you think that we should ask when we check in?
Like what?
Well, for me, I hate when I have a room that's adjoining to another room.
Oh yeah, that's one of my key questions, is asking about that connecting room. When you're at the front desk, ask if the room has a connecting door. Because sometimes you walk in the hotel and there's that mysterious door and you don't really know who's behind it, and sometimes you open it and see and there's another door there. But the problem is that a lot of those doors don't have insulation underneath the door, so you can hear everything that's going on in the room next door. I was in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago, and I think someone took one of my other tips, which is when you leave the room, leave the TV on and put the do not disturb sign on the handle, so people will think there's someone in the room and you're less likely to have your room broken into. Well, someone did that in the room next to me, left the TV on all night long, and I had to listen to it. I put a towel underneath the door, it didn't help. It was really noisy, and so you need to ask about that when you check in. And if you get to a room and it does have a connecting door and you have the time to switch rooms, I would suggest going ahead and doing that.
Yes, because it's terrible. I had that one time when they had kids and they kept trying to open the door all night.
Oh,
and I kept thinking it was like one of those scary movies where the clown's wiggling the doorknob and they're about to come in, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And is there one last Diva Rockstar tip that you would give anyone when they're checking into a hotel? Is there one last thing that you want to leave us with?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to check and make sure that they have your proper loyalty program information. We were talking about Wi-Fi earlier.
Yes.
A lot of hotels now offer free Wi-Fi, but only to people that are members of the hotel loyalty program. And a lot of times, if you're not a member, you can sign up as you check in, and then you'll get free Wi-Fi instead of having to pay, an extra $15 or $20.
Oh, I never thought to ever ask about their loyalty program. So I know that with airlines you do that, but I've never thought with hotels. It's a great tip.
Yeah, and also make sure that they have the correct number. I don't know how many times I've checked in hotels, and then a month later I'm looking at my statement and I'm like, I didn't get credit for that. And it's because they, the transposition error with the number. So it's always a good idea to ask the person behind the desk to recite the number back to you and make sure that it's right.
Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate your
Sure
time.
thing.
And now, to learn more about Chris and his amazing website, go to 1000traveltips.com where you'll find a link to his, and you can learn a lot more about how to travel like a rock star and other incredible perks. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.